In this video, we're going to look at working with spawners and having the player respawn whenever certain things happen. Now in this game that I've been building, the player is able to fall into the water, so that's a good area for the player to then respawn back to maybe a checkpoint when going through all these obstacles. You're going to learn a lot in this tutorial about checkpoints and spawners, so let's dive right into it. Get it? Dive, because the water. Alright, so we've been working on this game for a while, but I've never shown you how to make the player respawn when he falls into the water. At this point, maybe you've made ways for him to get back out of the water, but if you wanted him to actually have to start over when he hits the water, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Now, if you look around inside of the settings or environment settings, I don't see a way to tag the water. I might try to get them to create a way to do that so you can tag the water. And if you can tag anything with a tag, you know that you can create actions that will make certain things happen when certain things hit certain tags. So that would be pretty cool. But the way we're going to do it for today will be very simple. We're going to create another platform, a big platform. So we're going to go ahead and drag this box in here. And I'm going to go down to the scale here, like the depth. And I'm going to set this to about 1,000. Or let's do 800. I'm going to drag it up because I don't see it. There you go. So you can see how it goes pretty long. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead. That's 800. And I'm going to set the width as well to 800. So that's pretty nice. That covers this general area. Now, if you don't need a big one like mine, then don't. But in this case, I want to cover this general area. I want to cover this area and this here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to lower it to about the same height as the platform. So about right here. Now, if I hit play, check this out. If I hit play, it's clearly visible. You can clearly see it, right? But there's something you can do. Let's go back to the editor and I'll show you. Something you can do right here. It says invisible. Go ahead and check that. Now you still see it because obviously you need to be able to see it to edit. So now after we check the invisible box, you can see that it doesn't show up anymore. But you know it's there because of the balls bouncing on top of the water, and you can do the same too. What we can do is just have something happen now when you touch this. You can also make it a little bit lower so that you actually do dive into the water, and then the trigger goes off. So let's go ahead and actually make it just a little bit lower. I think would be a great idea. Right, so that way we have a little bit of maybe a little bit of a splash before we, get on that trigger. So what you do now is set is trigger, and then you can tell it what to do when you touch it. So when you touch it, it's going to fire off a trigger, and what should it do? So this is very similar to like the commands that we've been doing, with the actions, except this is kind of like right here. Okay, so we can tell it inflict damage, boom, and tell it to give, a big enough damage that could just kill the player and he will respawn automatically. Or we can just say is teleport, and then it tells us like what's the spawn tag. Remember, we have a spawner in our scene. So go here and we'll see spawn. Spawn tag is the spawner is here, and the spawn tag is player here. So in our little thing here, we can tell it the trigger and then the spawn tag, that. So now let's see what happens. We hit play down here, and let's jump off into the water, and we spawn back right here. So now we have an infinite loop where we can jump off into the water. You even heard the water splash there for a second. So we could definitely make it even a little bit lower. A little bit lower with it. Switch it to this, and I'll go a little bit lower. I'm going to take the spawner, right? A little spawner here. And I'm going to show you that you can then move this back over here. This spot. Remember this spot? And then if you fell into this water as well, spawn back. So you can see, I think that height was pretty good because when you fall, you will touch it and you spawn back in. Now with this, guys, you can also have checkpoints, because I could take that spawner. Am I able to click it? Did I get it? Yes, I got it. Right here, this spawner. And I can duplicate it just using the D key. Oop, now I have two. See? Now I have two. And I can change this to player here 2. Why not? Player here 2 is the tag on this one. And I'm just gonna zoom out of my my area here and take my player 2, bring it this way, and bring it to here. And that big platform I made, right? Can I select it? There it is. This big platform I made, I can bring it back up just a little bit so I can see it. And I can do this with it. Let's see, which way is it? This way? No, not that way. So this is going back to about 800. This way? Yes, I can do this. You know what? We could do this too. Since this part is enclosed, I can make that work. I can do that, and I'll just do this. So basically, I can make it so that this point, let's go down a little bit, right there, and I can tell it to spawn. Spawn is back at this checkpoint, which is tagged player here, right? So this block will spawn us back at the player here checkpoint. I'm gonna hit D, duplicate. Actually, I don't think it did. Did it duplicate? I didn't hear the sound. All right, didn't duplicate. There it is. Heard the sound that time. Now drag this one over here, and I can change this one now to the spawn here too. So tell it to spawn at this location from that one. So if we hit play, both of them should be fixed now. Let's see. Jump in here. We'll spawn back there. And if we add spawn at the first one, so I'll just go to the action that tells us to spawn at the where to spawn, and I'll tell this to spawn us at in the command here, spawn us at spot number 2. And I spawn at this location, and I jump into this water, spawn back here. Hopefully that wasn't too fast, guys. You kind of get what I'm saying. Okay, so now let's recap to make sure you got what I was saying properly. I know that might have been a little too fast, so let's recap on what I just did. Created 2 platforms. They're under the water. One here, that's the shape of it. I'll just bring it up high so you can see. And then the other one, which is right here, I'll bring it up high so you can see. There they are. These 2 platforms. Just gonna lower them underneath the water a little bit. So let me get a little bit closer here. And we lower them just a little bit under the water. So now it's like right under the water. I'll go even a little lower. Not too far. You want the player to actually hit it when the player falls in the water. I did the same thing for both of these. I'm gonna go ahead and do it for this one as well. Recapping, so do pay close attention. Just a little under the water so the player can hit it. Next, each of them is told to be invisible. Then each of them is told to be is trigger, and then is told to is teleport. When you tell it to teleport, you give it the tag of the spawner where you want it to teleport to. So whenever the player touches it, it's going to teleport the player to this spawner. Each of your spawners simply has to have a tag because that's how you target which spawner to send it to. So now you're able to create checkpoints. In my game, I have 2 spawners. See, in my spawns, I have 1 and 2. The first one is here. First one is here after we come out the entrance. First one is right here. So when we fall into this water, this one is telling it to spawn it back at this one here. You can see this one's just called player here. So it says, hey, trigger, teleport, player here. That's what that block is doing. So that makes perfect sense to you, hopefully. Now, the other spawner is here. After we've passed the wall to this narrow area where we have the cannons that shoot, this is called player here 2. Now this platform that's underneath the water is told to visible, trigger, teleport, player here 2. Okay, so hopefully that makes perfect sense to you. Now, I have the game starter where I teleport the player, set the 2. I'll set that back to the first one, which is just player here. So now I will start over here. Technically, I don't want to start here. I should be started way back at the beginning of this platform. So let me just zoom out. I should be starting somewhere here at the beginning here. So what I'll do for this is create another spawner and set it to spawn here. Let's do that right now while I have you, and then we'll wrap this up. So I'll go drop a spawner right here, give it a tag, and I'll just call it start. Then in my action where the player start, I will simply say the spawner is start. Now when I hit play, I start here. I do need to fix the rotation, so I'm already facing that way, but you guys already know how to do that. So all I gotta do now is I run over here, and let's say I'm playing the game. Everything should work properly. Those start, and if I jump and fail, I spawn back here. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing, and hopefully the recap was able to explain more. I know I went a little fast in the beginning, but then at the end, I slowed it down. You should understand, you should have gotten exactly what I was showing you. So that's how you create checkpoints, and that's how you make sure that the player respawns when he falls into certain areas on your game. Appreciate your time. You have a wonderful one. Keep modding.